I like to say that I haven't met a ride I won't ride or a coaster I don't find some way to enjoy. But when I go to Walt Disney World, there actually are some attractions that I generally don't ride. Here's 13 attractions at Walt Disney World I'm likely to skip. I'm one of those guys that when I go to a park, I ride everything. I love being on everything. I love all the different kinds of rides and experiences and attractions and shows and entertainment. There's really not anything I don't do. But that said, there are some things that when I go to a park, I oftentimes will generally skip just because they're not my favorites. And especially at Walt Disney World, where I've been a number of times, there are definitely some rides and attractions that I do kind of make a habit of bypassing. So here are 13 rides and attractions at Walt Disney World that I generally am going to skip and miss while I'm visiting. And I'm going to organize this by park, not necessarily in any specific order. So let's start off at Animal Kingdom. Disney's Animal Kingdom, I actually really like just about everything there. There's really only a couple things I'd skip. One of them is most of Dino Land, which is starting to get a major revamp, and so I'm optimistic this will change. But I'm not interested in the archaeological dig for kids. Primeval World was meh. Triceratops World, meh. And so I generally skip almost everything there because it's just not that interesting to me. The exception in this area is Dinosaur. We love Dinosaur. We will ride Dinosaur when we're there. But the rest of it, it's just not anything unique or interesting. You can go on a spinning mouse coaster anywhere and, hey, not going to miss that at all. You can go on a little circular dinosaur thing pretty much anywhere. It's just kind of blah. So it's very easy to skip. The other one at Animal Kingdom I skip is Kali River Rapids. I can't say there's any specific reason. As far as Rapids rides go, it's okay. You can go on a Rapids ride anywhere. Its theming is, I don't know, I don't find it interesting. You tend to get hit very hard with the ecological message, and okay, I understand that, but the point of the ride is an adventure and a wet thing not to get slammed with conservation messages. So that is kind of like, and the lines tend to be long, and so I'm just like, okay, a Rapids ride, which I can do most other parks, yeah, it's got a nice drop on it, but there's not anything standoutish except for the theme, and the theme just, I don't know, I don't find it an exciting theme, and then we're waiting a long line, yeah. So it tends to get bypassed a lot of times. Over at Hollywood Studios, there's 3 rides that I generally skip. One is the Toy Story Playland, okay, I'm a little old for it, and the whole Toy Story area. Slinky Dog Dash is kind of cool. The other alien ride is neat. Now, I do love Toy Story Mania. That's cool. But in general, the Toy Story area for me is okay. I know what they're trying to get across, but I just find it very light theming-wise. And, yeah. If you want to know what I mean, if you could think back to the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids play area and the way it was themed and built, and they compare that to Toy Story. And it's just a whole different level of experience. One, you felt like you were this tall, and the other one feels like it's a bunch of giant Lincoln Logs thrown together. Yeah, that tends to be skipped. Lightning McQueen's Racing Academy. This is actually one of the very few things at Hollywood Studios I have not seen and done, and I'm just not that interested in it. It's basically a glorified meet and greet as well as I can tell, and Lightning McQueen bounces around and talks a little bit, and woohoo! It just doesn't interest me, which is unusual for something to not interest me in any way at all. The one that may shock you at Studios is Rock and Roller Coaster. Now, don't get me wrong, I love Rock and Roller Coaster. I love the music, I love the theming, I love the ride. It is one of my favorite rides in all of Disney World, and yet I will generally skip it. Why? Because the lines are terrible. Now, this has changed a little bit since they got rid of Fast Pass, and I'm optimistic. I have not experienced it without Fast Pass yet. But the wait times would just take forever if you didn't have a Fast Pass, and Even if you did, it tended to be a long wait. I'm spoiled. I don't like to wait very long for anything. About 20 minutes, maybe 30. And Rock and Roller Coaster is oftentimes an hour or more. I'm just kind of like, love it. Really don't want to wait that long when I can go be doing other things. So that's why it gets the skip. Not because it's not an awesome, amazing ride, but I just don't want to wait that long. You're going to see that pattern on a couple other things as well. Hopping over to Magic Kingdom, there's a couple here that probably won't surprise you. Goofy's Barnstormer. It's a roller skater coaster, which you can find that model in other places. There's no big thing. I have been on it. Hey, it's a coaster. Gotta ride it at least once. If I'm there with friends that have kids that want to ride it, I will happily ride it. But just for me, nah, there's other things that are much more interesting than Goofy's Barnstormer. That's an easy one to skip. Same thing with the carousel that's there. I've been on carousels all over. I want it there. I love it there. My wife enjoys it, so if my wife wants to ride it, sure, we'll go take a spin. For me, it's an atmosphere thing. I've been on it a few times, but it's an easy skip for me. The Indie Speedway, okay. Probably have all heard me talk about this one. You can go on drivable cars anywhere. There's nothing special about it anymore, except the bad gas odor and the noise. And Monsters, Inc. Laugh Floor is another one. Now, I enjoy this. I have been at it several times. I have never been that guy. Just haven't. I've actually known cast members who've worked at it. It's a great, fun deal. But after you have seen it several times, it tends to kind of feel the same-ish every time. Turtle Talk with Crush can actually fall into the same kind of pattern. I definitely enjoy taking new people there. Hey, if it's open and I've got people who've never seen it, let's go. Let's check it out. After you've done it 3, 4, 8, 9, 10 times, it just doesn't feel special anymore. And so it's an easy skip. A couple honorable mentions here. Again, generally because the lines, Dumbo oftentimes gets skipped. I love it, but I don't want to wait for it. Peter Pan's Flight also runs into this as well. It's one of my favorite dark rides. It really is. But I can't justify waiting an hour for it. So those kind of get skipped too. Yeah, those are my honorable mentions. If I can get on them though and the lines aren't bad, I am all about riding them. Hey, early morning magic. Last park, Epcot. And there's a couple rides and attractions here that might surprise you. First, number 1, the American Adventure. It's an amazing show. If you've never seen it, you need to go see it. It's really great. The problem is the way our schedules work most of the time when we get there, it's mid-afternoon and we're a little tired, and then you go in from the heat into the air conditioning to a show I've seen several times, and it turns into nap time. 30-minute long show and I'll spend about 15. Hopefully not snoring that loud. It's a great show. It really is. But we tend to go in, we'll watch the Voices of Liberty first, and then check some displays, and then go see the show, and at that point, it's conk out time. So if I don't want a nap, I generally won't see it. It tends to be a little on the long side, too. Very neat show, but Living with the Land. Okay, I know this is going to shock some of you here. I do enjoy Living with the Land, but in general, it's a little bit of a snoozer. It's great if you want some air conditioning and to relax. Once you've seen it a couple times, and I know there's people who love this thing. I'm like, okay, I've been there, done that. Seen it all, seen the fish hatcheries, seen the giant pumpkins, seen the cucumbers floating in the air, and then it tends to have long lines a lot of times. Now, if it's a 10, 15-minute wait, sure, we'll go on it. But it's not unusual for it to have a 45-minute long wait. I'm just not all about waiting for that. Frozen kind of falls into the same thing. Now, I miss Maelstrom, absolutely. But Frozen's an amazing ride. But again, the wait times are nuts. If we had a fast pass for it, sure, we would ride it. But I wasn't going to wait an hour for that. Neat ride. Short wait ride. I understand why people want to wait for it. I do. I just don't. The other one that I generally skip, and this gets my daughter mad at me, is Mission Space. It's a neat ride, and I'll ride both versions of it. My daughter loves it. It's one of her favorite rides. I don't know. I don't know how to put this other than when I look at Mission Space, I just kind of go, okay. It's cool. Orange side with the actual centrifuge working. I have to make sure that I'm staring straight ahead. I don't get sick easy on rides, but it will definitely make me a little bit dizzy. And it's neat, but there's just... I honestly, I can't explain why I am not more impressed with it. Because the theming is there, the story is there, it's realistic, it's amazing, I love space travel, I love Kennedy Space Center. And yet, when I get to Mission Space, I just tend to go, and I don't really know why. So, when I'm there with my daughter or others, I do ride it, we go check it out, I have fun with it. But if I'm there on my own, I'm probably skipping it. I might hit Test Track. I don't care for the new version, but I may hit Test Track to get the big rush. And then I'm usually off out to the World Showcase. Because I prefer the pavilions. Maybe I'm just getting old. I don't know. So anyways, that's the rides and attractions at Walt Disney World I tend to skip or bypass. Which ones do you skip? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? I'd love to hear your opinions. And hey, if you think I'm dumb for missing a couple of those, let me hear it. Share it in the comments below. Thank you so much for hitting that like button, sharing, and subscribing. And thank you to my patrons and my YouTube members for their financial support. Be sure to check the description. Tons of information there. Thank you so incredibly much. God bless. There's really only a couple things I'd skip. One of them is... Yeah, definitely skip that. Over it... My cat's playing under my desk. It's okay. Slinky Dog Dash is kind of cool. Would you stop? Alien Swirling Saucers is not there. I'm spoiled. I don't like to wait more than about 20 minutes for anything. Especially not the garbage truck to go by. Dum 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 dum. Okay. Hopping over to... Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to know about contact information, fan pages, merchandise, and more, please be sure to check the description below. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to know when I have new ones, well, make sure you hit that subscribe button right up there. And if you want to see another one of my videos, well, I've got a great one for you right here. And a huge thank you to these wonderful people here who support me on Patreon and with YouTube memberships. They get behind the scenes information, special perks, and more. If you'd like to know more about that, well, make sure you check that button right there. Thank you so much.